I had a bit of a freak out yesterday, and this is legitimate. It's not me putting it on. I thought I lost your sketchbook.
Shit. Holy shit. I hope
Now, I don't think I need to say it, but obviously I didn't lose the sketchbook, otherwise there would be no video. A couple weeks ago, my friend Jeff King asked me if I would draw Daredevil in his sketchbook. Now, he's been collecting sketches and artwork over the years, and this particular sketchbook is focused primarily on Daredevil. The reason behind this drawing is to help raise funds for retailers who are struggling to get through during these trying times. Please make sure to check out the link down below. They will do their best to help you out. The sketchbook is filled with all of these amazing and incredible artists, and needless to say, it's pretty daunting to put a sketch inside it. Now, it felt a little bit like somebody was giving me the keys to their Ferrari, and I just felt extremely responsible for this book and not misplacing it. So as you can see, it's quite the collection that Jeff has put together. So the first thing I have to do is lay down some paper between the pages that I'm going to be drawing on, just to separate it from the other pages in the book, because I'm going to be using gouache. I use quite a bit of wet medium, so I don't want to spill over onto the other pages and ruin the book. Like I said, I was a little bit nervous in drawing in this book, and I typically don't do thumbnails for simple sketches, but in this scenario I decided to, just do a little bit of a thumbnail so that way I can figure out what composition I'm going to be using. As you can see, it's really rough. It's to the point where really only I understand it. It's kind of like thinking out loud, but it's drawing out loud, I guess, if that makes any sense. So the first thing that I do is rough in the figure work. I typically use a red or blue pencil just because it's really nice and light. From there, I'll use just a normal HB pencil, and I'll add in all of the finer details, even this goofy smile that I'm drawing right now. I gotta tell you, it's pretty tough drawing a face upside down. It doesn't quite work. But because I taped everything down and the way that I'm filming it, I really am trying to avoid flipping the pages around. If you've ever seen any of my videos when I'm working digitally, you can get kind of dizzy because I'm always spinning the pages. But in this case, I can't. I had to flip it around. So here it is. As you can see, look how goofy that face is. So I'm gonna fix that. Just a little gummy eraser, just so that the little bit of the face is still there so I can use it as a guideline. I'm repositioning his face to look down towards the city, so that way he's kind of looking at the city he's protecting, Now, I'm using just a very simple 2-point perspective here. There's one somewhere in the sky. This is Dennis Cowan's artwork. He's a fantastic and legendary artist, and I was using his art to reference how you draw the symbol on Daredevil's chest. But back to the perspective. So in this image, I'm using a very simple 2-point perspective. Mostly I'm using a vertical perspective, one somewhere in the sky, and one that's basically towards the the bottom where the horizon line would be. So I'm just chiseling out a little bit more of the figure work, kind of refining where the musculatures are. Now that I have the perspective and the finer details of the pencil work, I can begin the next step and start inking. But before I ink, let me refine these buildings so that way I'm not completely inking in the dark. Again, because it's just a sketch and I still want to put in some background, but I want to keep it loose and energetic. So I have a rough idea of where the vanishing points are. Again, I'm using just a very simple one. There's 2 points. Technically, there's 3. There's one working on a horizontal plane, but I'm keeping that completely straight. But all the other ones are either one above him and one below us. So this is one of my favorite brushes. Not this particular one, but just this style of brush. I'm not sure what it's called, but I think I call it a wedge brush because it's got this nice wedge to it. It feels like I'm sculpting, and I really like that. It's on an angle, so one point of it you can use to create some really nice sharp lines, and then on the fat side you can really just cover a lot of ground. One of the things I really enjoy about this brush as well is its ability to create multiple lines with a single stroke. So as you can see in this particular juncture, I am creating these windows or speed lines, or I don't know, I guess it's up to you to decide what it is. But essentially I'm using the roughness and the sketchiness of the brush to really sell the motion and create a sense of speed and dynamics to what otherwise is a still image. So here I'm using it to create windows. It's not the most precise way to do it, but I feel like it's the most energetic way to do it. I've always been a believer in, I'm not the most precise artist, and I don't know if you guys could hear that, but there was a motorcycle outside the window. But for me, it's about the energy of the piece rather than precision. And if I can get across the feeling and evoke a sense of movement, then that's typically what I'll go for rather than precision, I guess. So the funny thing is, this is one of the few times I'm kind of doing a voiceover. If you've seen any of my other videos, I typically just let things play out. And the thing is, even though I'm editing these videos, I am not watching them, if that makes any sense. I try to edit my videos to the beat, but essentially I'm not really looking at what I'm actually drawing. I'm just looking at the video. So it's kind of interesting watching this brush at work. So for the paints, I use Turner's gouache. It's a fairly affordable gouache, actually. One of the reasons why I switched to gouache from, say, watercolor or ink gouache, it's this ability to be very opaque, and the colors are very nice and vibrant. And for a character like Daredevil, who's red, and contrasting it to the black, it makes for a really nice, powerful, it really helps enhance the composition, really. It helps the character stand out quite a lot. One of the things I like about gouache is that it's really forgiving. It's also one of the problems with it is that they can always be activated. So even once this thing dries, if you introduce water to it, you can work with it again. With watercolor, it kind of just layers on, and it presents different problems, but also different possibilities, such as having just a nice variety of color layers kind of translucing and collagilating. I feel like I'm using a bunch of words that aren't really words, but right now my preferred medium is gouache and ink. The brush I'm using now is the Pentel brush pen, also one of my favorites. It's just a really nice brush to ink with. This is a Faber-Castell Pitt pen, just a simple marker really, but one of the things that's really good about that marker is that it uses India ink, so it has really nice solid blacks. With the Pentel brush pens, the cartridges actually have their own ink. I'm not sure if it's India ink or not, but what I typically do once they run out of ink, I use this artist's syringe and I actually inject real India ink inside the cartridges. Now, it's not always perfect because India ink can dry up, so it can sometimes clog the pen and render the brush useless. But so far, I haven't had too many instances of that happening, so I kind of continue to do that. I've even got a bit of a system. So some of my other brushes where the ink is running low, I'll actually inject a bit of water in it, so I'll have a little bit of a gray tone. So I'll sometimes use that for an ink wash. But in this case, we're only using just the black one. One of the things that I learned when I started coloring my artwork digitally is it really helped me understand lighting better. And it made me realize that, I didn't go to art school, so quite a lot of the things that I do, I feel like I'm just a guy stumbling around in the dark and figuring things out as I go along. And one of the things I realized working digitally, or specifically coloring digitally, is the importance of rim lighting. Once I started getting into coloring, I started looking at photography and I realized that the darkest point in a shaded area is actually the part closest to the light. I don't know if it's because of the contrast or because of the light dissipates or because of the way it's drawn. I don't know. I don't exactly know the rhyme or reason, but I just know that by adding shadows close to the light, it's really effective. So this is a white jelly roller pen. I'll be honest, I don't know what brand it is. I just found it at the art store. So for this white, I'm using white gouache. And just to get into the finer details, I'm actually using a fancy Winsor Newton Series 7 brush. It's one of the best brushes you can get. The only problem is I feel like I always gotta wash it like you use these shampoos and moisturize it so that the brushes can have a long life. So jumping back into the markers to draw the daredevil symbol, just because I need a little bit of precision. Sometimes it's difficult to use a single tool for every job. It's kind of nice to have different kinds of tools for specific jobs. So what you're seeing right here is me just diluting the ink to create some gray tones. I'm adding a bit of shadows on his face to really help sell the light is coming, or rather emanating, from the city. So the interesting thing about ink wash is because it is ink based, the more you layer and the more you keep working on a certain area, the darker it gets. It's quite unforgiving because once you've laid it down, there's no way to undo it, unlike gouache, which you can water down. So right here, I'm just adding a bit of white gouache just to add in some highlights. This finger tapping thing that you're seeing, I learned that from Jim Lee. I was sitting beside him at a convention in Germany, and I saw him squirt a bunch of white out on his fingers, and he started using his thumbs to create smoke, and it was a sight to be seen, and it was pretty awesome. Now that I'm finished the highlights, I'm just adding in my signature at the end here. It's nothing special, it's just my initials.
So this is my friend Jeff King.
Hello, friend Francis Manipul.
He is an amazing executive producer on Umbrella Academy, also an extremely talented writer and director.
Thank you, Francis.
I don't know what else you don't do.
The best thing that I'm doing today is being your friend and your colleague in supporting the CLLDF.
Yeah, actually, absolutely. So that's what we're here for. Let's. So I had a bit of a freak out yesterday, and this is legitimate. It's not me putting it on. I thought I lost your sketchbook.
Shit.
Because. No, I'll tell you why. What happened was, here, I'll give it to you.
Okay, sure.
What happened was, I was afraid to leave it in the studio because I'm like, oh, what if like somebody breaks in and steals just this sketchbook, right? So I would ferry it back and forth to home, right? And I remember showing it to Rachel. And that was the very last time I remember seeing it, was showing it to Rachel. So when I came into work yesterday to work on it, I'm like, shit, I didn't bring it. And it occurred to me I did the second thing, which I usually do, which is hide important things. What I would do is hide important things around the studio, and I would sometimes forget where I hid them. So I found it,
I'm glad you found
it's done.
it.
So
all right. Can we do the prestige?
Sure, yeah. Here, let's.
Everything has a process. Everything has. This sketchbook began its journey many years ago with a gift from a very good friend, and today it has a new addition. Whoa! Holy cow! Holy shit! I hope this is PG. Look at that! That's amazing.
It's upside down. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's right side out.
Oh man.
Dude, I love that.
Thanks,
you
man.
so much. That's incredible.
Thanks.
That's beautiful. I love the angle, the perspective, the energy. That is Daredevil.
Thanks. I hope you like it. I didn't put him up to this, so I'm going to cut away so I don't make Jeff feel any more uncomfortable than I already am.
I didn't mean to scare Jeff there, but I'm weird. I'm weird. To me, that sketchbook was like him giving me his prized possession, and I felt an overwhelming amount of responsibility to not lose his sketchbook. And there was basically 2 days where I wasn't sure where it was. Again, big thanks to Jeff King. Thanks for letting me video this thing. I hope that I didn't make you feel too weird. This still feels weird to me, but I'm still figuring it out as we go along. If you guys are interested in Jeff's work, check out Umbrella Academy. It's amazing. Check out his comics as well. He's done a lot of great stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And please make sure to check out the CLLDF links down below. I'll see you all next time.